Spoiler alert, the following podcast includes discussions on film that may potentially, intentionally or inadvertently, reveal plot twists, character traits, story details, up to and including endings that might otherwise be considered spoilers. Proceed at your own risk.
You're listening to Moviesucktastic.
The house is clean.
Better climb.
The house is clean.
Sounds like some bad movie.
We start. Welcome to Moviesucktastic, episode 177.
That's correct.
I'm on a roll.
Look at you.
This episode we are reviewing Poltergeist, both the 1982 version and the 2015 remake.
Because we're just glutton for punishment.
Okay, I'm glad we got that
everything is dumbed down. Whenever they do remakes, for the most part, some of them get them right, but for the most part, it's just dumbed down. They basically take the information that's been given to them with the original. They basically put that down in storyboards and say, okay, what can we do that's the same? What can we do that's different? And usually the stuff that they do different is mostly polar opposite stuff, like we were talking about before, and it becomes, even though it's the opposite, I find myself getting angry, because as I watch the film, I'm like, okay, the daughter isn't blonde hair, blue eyes, she's brown hair, brown eyes. Okay, she's still creepy because they do that. Oh, she doesn't say they're here, she says they're coming. It's like, come on. The mother doesn't go into the hole, the father, and they make you think he is for a split second, and then it's the brother. So it's like, oh, okay. But it's not the mother, it's not going to be her, it's going to be something different, and that's what they do. They still come through the ceiling all covered in goop. In the original, it was like this gelatinous shit. In the second one, it's more like fucking ectoplasm from Ghostbusters. It's like, Give me a fucking break already.
All right, let me calm you down. Let me calm you down here.
All right.
Now, I thought it was interesting that they did it seemed like they tried to combine certain aspects of Poltergeist 2 into the remake of the first one.
Right.
Now, in the first film, Diane and Steve, Steve is he's a salesperson. He sells the houses. He's not a developer. He's not, which in my mind, I remember him being a developer when I watched it as a kid. But no, he's a salesperson. So he's a number one salesperson. And they living in this house for, since it was built, so maybe a year or two. In the remake, they're buying a house. And they changed all the names, so it's not Steve in the remake. It's Eric, right. Sam Rockwell. I will watch Sam Rockwell in anything.
I love Sam Rockwell, it pains me that he was in this remake. And when we started watching the film, I'm like, he's still pretty good in the movie. Him,
he is.
Not the movie, just him. And I'm like, it's a paycheck, because you can't do all the indie shit every time and expect to live on that. Sometimes you got to take the big budget movies.
Thank God he was in there, because it was the one shining light that kept me not hating this film as I was in it.
Right.
Now, so in the film though, they're buying the house, so they buy the house without knowing anything happening. They're not involved in the production or of the area, and he just lost his job. Now I got into a brief argument with Holly because I thought, okay, here's something, maybe some stuff they're trying to imply here that's not coming across. She's like, okay, who buys a house after they lose their job?
Right.
And my argument
was... And all their cards are maxed out and everything.
My argument was, this is probably them downsizing from a larger McMansion that they shouldn't have bought and so now they have to find a smaller, more affordable house, and that's
Right,
it's
and
a
the kids do allude to that. We liked our old house better, and it
Right.
that does make sense. And I did think that as well. That it's just like, all right, let's sell our other house. We're going to use
But-
the money to buy this house, and we don't really. Maybe they come out, even because they
Right.
bought a smaller house.
It's like we can't afford the taxes on the first house, let alone the mortgage. So let's just, yeah. I mean, so that I was able to make sense of. I don't know how easy it is to buy a house after you've been laid off. I'm not sure
Well,
about the logistics in that.
Just as a person right now going through just a simple fucking refinance of my house, they need to know that I have the money to pay for the closing costs, even though they don't want me to pay for the closing costs. If
Right.
that makes no fucking sense. It's like, listen, you got to prove to us you
Okay,
can pay the
we-
closing costs, but we don't want you to.
Okay, Joey.
So,
I'm sorry.
I know,
I'm
I know,
sorry.
it's a different show, but
No.
the thing of it is, it isn't easy to just go buy another house if you've lost your job. I had to
Right.
show two fucking recent within the last 30 days of pay stubs to refi, not to buy a house. When we were buying, it was more difficult. I had to
sorry.
show them 3 months of pay stubs. Everyone is sorry right now. I know. I'm not sorry. Scott put me on this path.
I apologize. I apologize.
So no, yes, suspension of disbelief. That's all it really is. You can only chalk it up to that. But it is extremely difficult to buy a house, and it's even more difficult if you don't have a job.
And I feel like
Don't get me started on no doc loans.
Oh, I feel like they made decisions like that in this film, to try to create this tension in the household, which the first film didn't have. It was, here's a happy family, and now we're going to introduce this, this weirdness into their lives and cause friction. And this was like, okay, let's take a family that's already frictioned. They're already, just clawing at each other, and now let's make it worse. It's a transition, and I guess maybe they did that because in a remake, you know what's happening, so you don't have the luxury of spending the long time with the build up. But I just think it was a bad call. It throws too many questions in the beginning of the film.
Yeah, no, it's true.
And then they had to do the whole weird thing of, hey, my cards got rejected, so the one that did, you know what? I'm going to go on a spending spree in the mall so I can make sure that we have a drone that we can use later on when we have to fly it into the nether.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that scene when they push out that shot with the drone with the son using it, and I told Mayor when that scene happened, I go, yeah, these drones, they actually had to tone down the video on that drone to make it look shitty, because I'll tell you, these drones can do 1080p, 30 frames a second, or 23 frames per second. It can do all that stuff. All of the expensive aerial, helicopter, crane shots that they were spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on, you can do with one of these drones for $200.
Right.
So they had to make it look shitty because it's like, okay, we have to make this shot look shitty because we have to show that we're using a toy.
Right.
When in reality it looks pretty goddamn good.
And I think that leads up to one of the problems with remaking a film 20 years later. This day and age
33.
is there's this and you're going to definitely agree with me on this. There is this weird need to inject technology into the film to prove that it's happening now.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Now, the original Poltergeist, while it was filmed in 1982, we're talking 30 years ago.
32 years ago.
Yeah.
33 years ago, I'm sorry.
The film, while it takes place in a different time period, is not dated if you're not obsessed with the fact that they're talking on a phone that has a wire on it. There's nothing that really dates the
Even
movie.
the equipment that they use, they still to some degree use that type of equipment.
Still video cameras. They still have. There's still yeah.
Still video cameras, but even I'm talking about like I think they're called ectometers, where they have these meters that can sense energy and things like that. They still use. They might be a bit better technology now, but the technology, not the better technology, the equipment is better made, but the technology is still pretty much the same to detect energy and things like that. So it's like even shit like that. Yeah, the equipment's older, but it does the same job as anything they're using now.
It's not like we're watching a film from the 30s and they have a crank phone and there's somebody
Right.
operating the elevator. It's not dated. So they do the remake, and we have to make sure you've seen it. And I
think
know
about the only thing that's dated is the fucking television.
which and again,
Still produces a picture, sound, and whatnot. But
right. So I mean, I'm sure you cringed at a lot of these scenes I did, where it's like, okay, my cell phone. You use my cell. Oh, are we talking about? You're not going to, we may have to make sure that the teenager has the cell phone and she talks about it and she films people with it, because every
Right.
teenager in the world does this, of course. And the film would not make any sense if we didn't do that. And of course, we have to have the fucking drone in there. And of course, we got to make
cell phone. Even when she loses signal on her cell phone, it's like, yeah, cell phones don't do that. What's happening to your phone right now doesn't happen.
that happens to like a transistor radio.
Yeah, exactly.
Static.
It doesn't even happen to the fucking HD television that they have in the next room.
And
That doesn't happen.
When a teenager's listening to music on her cell phone and it stops working, she doesn't walk around the house waving it like a Geiger counter trying to figure out what's causing it. She either just complains about it to her friends, or she calls tech support and complains about it to them. And then
Exactly.
complains about it.
Exactly.
Oh, and let's make sure we have her Skyping with her friend on her bed. We gotta have we have to show the laptop so you know that this is the 2000 and whatever. And with Skype, just inject that shit in there so we know that it's, because God forbid if we don't have that technology in there, we won't know when it is. And also extra kudos to Poltergeist, the remake, for being brave enough to have a teenage daughter portrayed as a completely fucking rabid bitch that you'd like to beat to death with a pool cue. Very original. Never see that happen in films.
Never saw it. No, especially when she comes into the kitchen and basically tells the mom, "It's like, I'll get a job when you get a job." It's like, "Oh, you're her job." It's like, enough. Stop.
The yeah.
You okay? You all right?
What's her name?
What? Jo Beth Williams?
No.
No, the actress DeWitt. What's her face?
Actress from the first film.
Jo Beth Williams.
Yeah. Why am I fucking?
I don't know. I thought you were going with the woman that
the daughter
played Jo Beth Williams in the remake, Rosemary DeWitt.
All right. We were just talking about the daughter in the first film, the teenage daughter.
Yeah.
And
Dunn.
I don't know why I'm losing the name totally right now.
It's something Olivia Dunn, not Olivia Dunn. Something Dunn.
Oh,
She's Dunn. Dominique Dunn.
Dominique Dunn. Why am I fucking blanking on that? God damn it.
Don't worry about it.
Anyway, Dominique Dunn, in the first film, she played a typical teenager. Okay, yeah, she's on the phone a lot. She's getting knocked up. She's out with boys. She thinks her younger. Oh, another reason it proves that they're like a hippie family. They have a teenage daughter in high school, and then like 2 elementary school children. What does that tell you?
Wow,
Not planned.
Yeah, not planned.
You were an accident, and we love you less. But they managed to portray her as just like a real teenager without going out of the way to say, okay, and she's going to annoy the living shit out of you to the point that you want to stab her in the eye.
Yeah.
Why do we have to do that?
Well, I wouldn't want to stab her in the eye.
But I don't know. Maybe that makes it
somewhere
sound.
else.
But, wow. I'm just saying, cut her a little.
Hey.
That's all I'm saying. But yeah, why do we have to take that like really cheesy? We're trying to make her a realistic teenager. No, you're not. You're trying to make her a fucking stereotype so we can hate her, and then like she's like endearing later on, and yeah.
Right.
Bah. So I mean, those are some of the major issues I had with the remake as far as plot choices and inserting the fucking modern technology in there. Now, was there anything like that bothered you?
Well,
I've got a list, but I had to stop and let you talk.
Yeah, you got a list. Well, I mean, the fact that it's made bothers me. Okay, I mean, they had the stupid the clown, the kid. You know what? When the kid abandons his sister and he gets swallowed by the tree, I was like, good. That's what you get for giving up on your family, you fucking little shit.
Okay, but I I immediately recognized it for what it was a new character arc where, okay, now it's going to be less about because the original family really didn't have it that much.
And that's
All they
what
had
they
was
did.
like, yeah. So you minute that happens, like, okay, someone's going to be seeking redemption in the third act. Ah,
Ha ha.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
and that's no, that's fine. But they introduced the clown again. Now, what's interesting about the clown is someone had made a post. Well, I think it might have even been Chris Wolner. He said that they made the clown creepier,
right.
and even so, I don't think it works like it did in the first film.
It works less because they made it creepier.
Right. Well, and you
Because-
know what's interesting too? I was telling the story last night. The clown from the first film, I don't know if that was a mass-produced toy or it was just a huge fucking coincidence. I
I've
had
heard
that
that-
clown.
No, I've heard from other people that was a mass-produced toy.
I had that
Some-
fucking clown growing up.
That's what I've heard. Yeah, no, that's what I've heard. And you know what? It's like taking something too far. The reason that clown was creepy was because it was a clown, and because you could see, like Holly's like, well, why does the kid have it on his chair then? Says, I'll tell you why. Because the mother says, oh, remember that you love your clown. I'm going to put the clown right here for you so you can sleep with it. And
Yeah.
and this is all implied. Again, this is the genius of the first film. So the kid's like, she wants the clown there, and I'm not going to tell mom I hate the clown. Maybe the grandmother gave the clown to him for Christmas. It's like, yeah, mom thinks I love the clown. That's why it's so great at the end when he finally defeats the clown, and he just goes crazy tearing the stuffing out. I hate you! I hate you! I hate you! He's been dealing with hatred of that clown for a long fucking time,
Yeah.
time. So,
Mine, I had mine hanging from my ceiling, or that's where my mother put it. Just hanging from my ceiling. It's like, oh god, really? This
Well,
fucking thing
so-
stared at me every night.
Yeah, and so the remake, okay, we made it so creepy that there's no way in the world any mother that doesn't hate her child would buy this toy for him. So they had to they find it in a crawl space with all these other creepy clowns, because that's something that's not getting thrown out right away. A collection of creepy clowns we found in a crawl space in the attic. No, the mother's obviously going to leave those there.
Yeah,
they'll
it
just
could be
leave
worth something.
It's-
This is the Spielberg scene where he's ripping off his face. I have to watch this with the audience. Oh, it's such a great scene too.
Now, there's another character that it's like those things where they take it too far in the remake. So that's the character, I forget his name, with the glasses, and he's the one where he's like, it might be something coming from CB. I'm going to check it out. And he's eating their food. He's not a raving asshole, but you just like him a little bit less than the black guy. No. So, but in the remake, they take the same character, make him younger, so you can hate him, because hating younger people is easier, and they have him just coming right out and telling the little girl, "You're making the whole thing up, so you can," or the little boy, "So you're making the whole thing up, so you get a TV, can't you?" And he's being a jerk, is what he's being. So then when the ghosts terrorize him with the power drill, you're like, good, because you deserved it. It's blatant, sloppy, lazy writing. Not sloppy at all, but lazy. Very lazy writing.
It is lazy. It's definitely lazy.
And again, instead of a black guy, it was a black girl.
And her character came out of nowhere.
Well,
I remember when they went to go see them, and then they come to the house, and the guy is setting up, and she's like, "Did you do the whatever?" And I'm like, "Where the fuck did she come from?"
Like, who are you? Who let you in here?
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
Now,
don't rob us, please. Ooh.
Can we talk about the biggest change between the two films, which would be swapping out the midget for the Irishman?
Sure.
Now, I like
Which
Jared
that's set up in the beginning of the film with the daughter on her laptop.
Uh-huh.
Because she's
yeah,
watching that show with her friend on the laptop. Like, her friend doesn't have TV or something. I don't know. I don't know where they came from. Maybe it was Antarctica. I don't know.
Let me ask you, what is your opinion of that change before I say anything?
Again, they're not gonna use a female in the part. It's like what I said. They just do the exact opposite. It's just another change. It's like, listen, it's a woman. We're going to use a man. It's not like they're going to go get Danny DeVito and make it a small man. There's something in the like, or Peter Dinklage. Maybe they contacted Peter Dinklage. He was fucking busy making Pixels. I don't know. Maybe doing Game of Thrones. But I wouldn't be surprised.
Fuck him, by the way.
I still like him. I know you don't.
I like his acting. As a person, I think he's got a shitty.
You never met him. So.
Interviews I've read. Shut up.
Yeah, you've read. It's different.
I'm allowed to shit talk people if I want to.
Sure, if you meet them. Anyway,
I'll remember that. I'll remember that next time you tear into an actor you don't like. I'll remember that.
I don't really tear. Okay, never mind. I wouldn't be surprised if I did enough digging, if they contacted Peter Dinklage and he just couldn't do it, or just flat out said no. I wouldn't be surprised. But my take on it is they were never going to use a female in that part at all. That's guarantee. The fact that they use a Scottish guy or an Irish guy or whatever the fuck he
Irish.
is.
I'm embarrassed now because I don't know which he's the character. The actor's English. No, he's Irish.
He's
but
Irish.
He was born in England, but he's Irish.
Okay, fine. So he's probably playing an Irish guy in the movie.
He's Richard Harris's son. So yeah.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Anyway, which would make sense about English, Irish, whatever. But they were never going to use a female. Why they didn't try to make the character more of the same? It's because they don't do that shit with remakes. So that's my take on that.
Right. Now
they're just going to do the polar opposite no matter what.
I don't think it was a polar opposite. Well, all right, tall and male as opposed to short and female. I'll give you that.
And an accent. I mean, you can't get more different.
Well, she kind of had an accent too, just not Irish.
Yeah, Jewish.
I was thinking Southern, but okay.
Sure. Jewish Southern accent.
All right. Yeah, there you go.
Her real name was what? Zelda Rubinstein or something like that?
I'm talking about the character, not the actress.
Yeah, no, I know, but you know what? You're not going to be able to get, you're not going to take that much Jewish out of her. Wow. It's just not going to happen.
I'm going to gloss over that comment and just plow right ahead.
That wasn't anti-Semitical or anything.
I didn't accuse you of being anything. I'm just saying I'm going to move on.
I think that was kind of you were.
I think that I approve of their decision to redo that character as like a ghost hunter TV type character. I think the fact that there's a predominant ghost hunter bullshit shows now, and that the whole parapsychology thing is the norm. I thought it was a good call. It was an easy thing to translate to the audience that they're familiar with, and I also like the fact that it was okay. I do this shitty show on TV, but when I do this in the real world, I'm not that character. That's something I do for money. I'm serious about this, and I know my shit. It was much better than taking the cheap shot of now somebody comes in and doesn't know what he's doing. I liked that.
I didn't mind his character. I like him, that actor.
Yeah. Now, what I will say is what they didn't do with him is what they did do, and I talked about a few minutes ago, in the first film, was that the first film had those long stretches of conversation with the psychologist talking about, theorizing about why poltergeists exist, and then with the midget talking about, this is what they're doing and what they're trying to do, and really talking about these their theories about this unexplained area. For him, he should have been doing a lot more of that, but it's almost like they didn't want to waste the time because they were afraid of boring the audience because they already know the film.
Right.
He should have done a lot more talking, and he should have done what I just talked about with him being, doing the show for money, but then being a serious person when he's out in the field. He doesn't talk about it. They don't spend any real time.
Not much at all.
Making that difference. You notice it, and all right. See, show don't tell. I get that, and that's usually good, but his character is the kind of character you want to talk for like an hour. You want him like to theorize and say stuff and get into like I've done this and that and this other thing and I don't do give me more of the character, because we're just assuming we understand him because we saw him on TV and we saw the difference between how he acts. Like, oh, okay, that's his history. It's not, and they don't make him mysterious either, because he's so engaging with everybody. He's likable. Everyone likes him. Everybody gets along with him. He's nice to the kid. So he's not off. There's like that one scene where he shows them the leg scar, and they're trying to make it. It's like, all right, if you're gonna do that, make him like what's his name in Jaws. It's just creepy with the one eye. Yeah, make him like completely creepy where no one trusts him in the first place. But don't make him as warm and lovable as the Indian character in Part 2 of the original series, and then try to pull off mysterious and aloof, because it's not working. There's no mystery about him now.
Okay,
and,
I see your
and
point.
he also. And speaking of like them combining other parts of other movies, he also pulls what, and I keep saying the midget, but that's very mean. What was the character? Tangina. He does in the remake what Tangina does in Poltergeist 3, which is no, you spared a family. I'll show you the way to the light.
Right, he does that.
Yeah, so they lift that from the third film, and then when Sam Rockwell sees like blood coming out of his face and the faucet reflection.
Well, that's a take on the ripping off the own face in the first film.
And since he was drinking whiskey, it's also a take on the tequila of the second film too. Yeah, so they kind of took, instead of like making a direct remake, they kind of said, okay, you know what, we're taking a mishmash of all the three films, because we're really just trying to, we're scrapping the bottom of the barrel to try to make something that's interesting without being boring, which you can't do when you're not doing anything original with it, which is the one thing this film does not do, is something original with the concept.
Nothing at all. One part in the film that I misheard, I had to rewind, because I thought they actually did something funny, or even cool is not the right word. When the Irish actor, the ghost hunter guy, the kid was asking about, something to happen to him, and he said, I thought he said 1987 fruit cellar, the whatever didn't want to go away. And I'm like, I started laughing, and Mayor's like, what do you laugh for? I go, did he just say what I think he did? And I go, you don't know it, but I said, it's Evil Dead 2, fruit cellar, zombie in the basement. And I'm like, in the fruit cellar. And then I rewound it, and it was 1997, root cellar. I'm like, fuck you, and fuck you again for making me think that you did something even remotely cool. It's like, that's my own fault for mishearing it. And I had to rewind it just to verify, and of course it was just, fuck you.
Speaking of homages in the films, going back to the first Poltergeist for a minute, I'm watching this rewatching it, blown away at the amount of Star Wars stuff they're inserting in this kid's room.
Oh yeah, Spielberg and Lucas, best buds. Best buds. He's got the fucking C-3PO sheets, Yeah,
I'm surprised they didn't have like Lucas digging the pool in the backyard.
Well, I mean,
hey,
I'm sure Lucas, he stopped by the set a few times, because what the fuck was he doing?
They toned it down. In part 2, the only product placement I could really see was Mad Magazine, and then.
Oh really?
Yeah, but and also in the original, like the guy's eating Cheetos and the bag is perfectly flat. And he's holding it up. So yeah, hold that for like a minute longer, just so we can make sure we can see that. It's just blatant. But we're also talking about at the same time he's shooting E.T. and Reese's Pieces. So he's as a producer, he's dead on with the fucking product placement. So, we
masterful.
Let's raise some money for this film the horror way. Seeing that, but in that's what I wanted to mention too. Speaking of product placement. Did you? I never noticed it before, but I noticed it this time, and I had to look it up. Did you notice when they're at the end of the kitchen sequence with the sliding chairs, when Craig T. Nelson is sitting there? It's like, I don't know what's going on here, and there's like this weird abrupt cut, and they're outside their neighbor's house.
Well, no, I didn't notice it.
They pull it off where it's almost like it's supposed to be. Like comic, like what do we do? And then boom, we're at the neighbor's house. But
right.
It's too abrupt. It's like there's not enough space between the dialogue. Where it's like, okay,
it feels like there's something else there. Well, I know there's two cuts of the film. There's the 114-minute cut and there's a 121-minute cut. And
This
the version I have is an hour and 54 minutes, 114 minutes. But there is a 1 hour and 21 minute cut of the movie, and that's possibly what you're mentioning.
what I'm mentioning.
Like that scene is probably longer.
I've not seen the 121-minute cut, but
I don't think I have either.
I'm almost positive that what I'm talking about is not in that cut either, because I don't think they saved it. Because what happened was, the end of that scene is Dana remarking about how he hates Pizza Hut, because Carolina keeps saying, "I want Pizza Hut." So at the end of that, he's like, I don't like Pizza Hut. And Pizza Hut, being a sponsor of the film, they get their name in there, didn't like a character saying, "I don't like Pizza Hut," so they had to cut that at the last minute.
So that's not in the 114-minute cut?
It's not in the. I'm pretty sure
It's not in the film at all, so you read that somewhere, I guess.
I read that that's why it was cut out. Which, and again, I was like, it was just a weird cut, and I had to figure that out. So I don't know that it's not in the uncut version, but I'm willing to bet it's not.
Interesting. Yeah,
because of why it was cut.
If you're spending money, you don't like to be bad-mouthed.
Well, do you remember Pacific Heights? The whole thing with that.
The one with Michael Keaton.
Yeah. They got sued because I think it was Terminex.
I think I do remember. Yeah. When he infests their house.
Right. So, and they have like the Terminex guy, and I think it was Terminex. I'm not 100% sure. And the Terminex guy, it's a name brand guy. They paid to have product placement. He comes to the house, and then when like the flood comes out, he's like, "Oh, mine!" He's like stomping on him, like, "This is a madness." And apparently, they felt that was a poor representation of their skills as insect killers, and they sued the movie afterwards, saying that they were slandered after they had paid for product placement. And I believe they won.
Yeah, I would think they did.
Well, they were not happy with that. So product placement, you really have to, when you're paying for that license there, or they're paying you for that license, depending on which way it goes either way, you gotta be nice. So you can't hate Pizza Hut. No,
definitely not. See, now that I know, because I didn't know that there was a cut that was 6 minutes longer until today. Because, obviously doing some homework online and going on IMDb, and I am a freak when it comes to runtimes. I have to, if I own a film, I got to make sure that I have the uncut version or the director's original vision, however you want to call it. If the runtime is 99 minutes, the copy I have that I own better be fucking 99 minutes. So I took a look today, and I always knew that I had this 114-minute cut. I didn't ever realize that there was a 120-minute, it's called an original cut. So I got to see if I can find that somewhere. Even if it's DVD, even if it's a VHS rip, I need to see the 120-minute cut. I have to know what's different. Do you think we can find that online real quick?
I'm already searching. So yeah, if you want to talk about, I've been hogging it as far as the difference between the two films. If you have anything else you want to talk about with the remake.
No, I mean no, not really. I mean, as far as the comparisons go, I think we touched on everything, or at least you did. I didn't take notes for this, so I'm just going on sheer memory. Let's see.
Well,
Poltergeist.
That's another thing they brought from Poltergeist into the Poltergeist remake that doesn't really make too much sense. Was the pizza?
Right. Okay.
Because like in the opening scene, Dana's asleep on the couch in the easy chair with a pizza in his hand, and then we're gonna order Pizza Hut, blah blah. So pizza is mentioned a bit in the first part of the film, and they put that in the remake. I don't know, and I don't know whether I liked it or not. Was that the remake had the same line? As at least it's not like we're talking about an ancient, like a
tribal,
sacred Indian, tribal
Indian
burying ground.
Yeah.
One thing that I do respect them changing in the remake is how they find out about it.
Well, I mean, in the first film, it's a big surprise. It's the big it's the big reveal. In the remake, it's like the movie's 33 years old. They just come right. It's in the trailer.
Right.
They just come out and tell you.
That's correct. But
I
also,
love Craig T. Nelson in the first film. You built the houses on the burial ground, but you never moved the bodies.
why? Why? But
Oh, someone's talking about it here. Bad edit during kitchen scene.
yeah. Now,
Someone brings it up.
what you're talking about as far as their choice to reveal it earlier or not make it draw it out, I agree with that. I also agree with the idea that they had to explain in the modern day why he didn't know, because that's the one thing I'm watching now, and it's like, okay, wait a minute, you've been selling these houses, you work for this company, and you didn't know they built it on a cemetery?
Right.
How did that not come up? But then, of course, its question is, all right, 1982, what are your sources of information? Newspapers and the people that did it. That's it. There's really, you're on television, unless it was a major controversy, you're not going to catch it on the news. You really didn't have access to just all this random information. So in 2015, you have a Poltergeist film. You got to assume that everyone knows that this place was built on a cemetery, or where a cemetery used to be. So that's why. So it's just a matter of, okay, we're from out of the area. We don't know about this, so we can be blind to it. Whereas the real estate agent's like, well, there's some wiggle room. Now we find out why there was wiggle room. And then the people at the dinner party are, yeah, we knew about that, but at least they can go visit their loved ones in a nicer place now. Oh, I'm sorry. Which again alludes to the whole idea that they're making a downward transition. And again, in part two, he lost his job. They lost their house. The insurance isn't paying because the house is technically only missing. He has this whole Craig T. Nelson has this whole rant in the beginning of part two, and was like, "Yeah, I like this downward mobility thing. I like selling vacuum cleaners and blah, blah." And they kind of took that aspect too of the Craig T. Nelson dealing with this fact that he's no longer the breadwinner and he's losing control of everything, and they put that into the
wife being a writer, and he's like, "You're going to write your book," and
well, no, I'm talking about the male character in that film too, because they're both dealing with the
Craig
idea
T. Nelson, yeah.
Yeah, and Sam Rockwell. They both lost their jobs. They're both losing control of everything. That's why Sam Rockwell, even though you can rationalize it as Sam Rockwell having that sudden spending spree as a way of regaining control of his life amidst all of this stuff, it is still just a cheap shot to get that drone in the movie for the third act.
Okay, yeah,
I'm talking way too much. Did you find out anything about that?
No, everyone keeps mentioning the strange cut, and they're mentioning Pizza Hut, but there's nobody here talking about the different runtimes, which I think is a big story. I would think so. Can't find it anywhere. Oh,
here's one thing for you, Joey. This kind of supports roughly your thing about the TV at the end of Poltergeist. It says in the 1997, 1999 MGM and 2000 Warner DVDs of Poltergeist feature an entirely different end credit sequence. The credits begin roughly 15 seconds earlier over the tracking shot of the Holiday Inn, in which the sequence in which they appear is different, including some rearranging of the cast list. So that might be one reason why you remember the credits differently than now, is because they were different in earlier versions.
Yeah, I specifically remember seeing it end with directed by Steven Spielberg.
Yeah,
I thought it was a Spielberg film for a long time.
Well, it was
until I was old enough to to look it up.
I keep forgetting. I keep forgetting that I want to do the Parents Guide before every movie we review.
Oh, you still want to do it? You can do it.
I'm just looking.
See, and you know what? Like, comparing the first film to the second film, I think the first film is especially the visual effects, way scarier than the second film. The second film, well, I'm an adult, I'm not a child. The second film, or the remake, I shouldn't say the second film, the remake is not scary in the least, at all. There's
really
nothing scary in there at all. The first film, with the puppetry and the special effects, especially when that one, Poltergeist is in the room, and it's like fucking like sharp teeth demon is all white. That's as a kid, even as an adult, that's fucking creepy as hell, And there's a lot of work put in those special effects, and maybe I overthink it, but really good stuff in the first film. Really, just like you said, lazy in the remake.
Well, the whole film feels kind of rushed in that to that extent too.
I don't.
And-
Well, I don't. I wouldn't even give them the benefit of the doubt and say rushed. It's just the way they make shitty movies now.
Yeah, you're right. It's like code word for don't give a shit.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
And it's a PG-13. And ironically, it's a PG-13 film, and I'm sure they probably tried to specifically tone the film down enough so it could be a PG-13 to make sure it's a family film.
I'm sure they'll come out with an unrated when it comes out on Blu-ray.
Oh yeah, sure. 101 minutes is the extended cut of that, as opposed to 93 minutes.
This is the remake.
Yeah. Now
They already have the unrated cut runtime.
Oh, of course they do. Because the DVD was probably like already announced when the film came out. This shit's
Right.
planned in advance. Now, ironically, Poltergeist 3, they that whole ending they had to reshoot, that thing we talked about earlier. The
Right.
reason they did that is because the film was rated a PG by the MPAA, and they wanted it to get up to a PG-13, so they needed a more scary, violent ending.
Okay, all right.
So how's that for ironic?
Yeah. You know, I'm just watching this scene now. You know what they did in the remake that they didn't do in the first film that just makes sense in the remake? When
What?
they fall through the ceiling in the first film, they just let them
put a
fall on the
mattress.
fucking floor.
Yeah.
In the remake, they at least put a mattress down.
Holly jumped right on that. So see, they're thinking ahead. They're falling from the sky. They hit the ground hard in that first film. It was like, she jumped on that right away. So, thank you. What what I thought was interesting is we watched the remake first, then went back and rewatched the original, and
Right.
the part where like after she's gone and Sam Rockwell and the wife are talking, it's like, yeah, and they're talking about calling the cops. She's like, we have to call the cops. It's like, no, we tell them. Like this, they spend like a couple minutes talking about whether or not we should call the police and if we did, what we'd say. In the first film, it's like after the fact where they've already been living with this thing for like 2 or 3 weeks, and Craig T. Nelson's talking to the parapsychologist for the first time. He's like, yeah, we didn't even call the cops. That's it. It's just a little, it's like a throwaway. And you know what? That's something they lose in the remake too, is that
Right.
after that, and after Carol Ann goes missing, and then they go to the parapsychologist, there's an implied passage of time, like he's missed a lot of work. You don't miss a lot of work until you actually missed a couple weeks.
Yeah,
He's missing
true.
a lot of work, and like the bags under his eyes, he's been sleeping. So when the parapsychologists come into the house and they're casual about, yeah, that happens over there all the time. Yeah, we want to watch this. So, really, a time lapse? How about this? Their blasé attitude towards these supernatural events makes sense because they've been living. They're like shell shocked, and they've been living with this for like weeks on end. The remake, you don't get the feeling that they've been there for that long. So when Sam Rockwell's acting really casual about, yeah, that shocks you every like twice or so, it's like, dude, you've only been dealing with this for a couple of days.
Right.
This is still fresh for you. They didn't. He pulls that off because he's great at that kind of casual attitude. But the film doesn't convince me that the family's already become bored with some of these supernatural events. So I mean that's something that they fail. The second film, the remake, has no tension.
There's nothing there.
And
there really
it's
is
almost,
nothing there.
and it gives up on that tension intentionally because I think they decide right off the bat, you know what, we're not going to build tension because it's a remake. Everybody knows what we're going to do. So you know what? Then don't make the fucking film.
Oh, they'll never do that.
The biggest change they made.
It's just an opportunity that they can make it cheap and try and
Yeah.
make $100 million.
Yeah, the biggest change they made was, we get to look into the netherworld when they go looking for Carol Ann.
Right, which that wasn't even done well.
No, right. So what's the netherworld? It's a carbon copy of our world, except the walls and floors are made up of writhing corpses. Says, yeah, maybe you should keep that to yourself.
Right, and every once in a while they would kind of like zoom in on one of the corpses and it had like a contorted face, and it's like, all right, enough. It's like, please.
Yeah, but like, all right, how much CGI can we cram into this now? We need to get some CGI in here. I keep forgetting.
Let's see.
I keep forgetting that I want to do the Parents Guide before every movie we review.
Oh, you still want to do it? You can do it.
I'm just looking. All right, Poltergeist remake, 2015. Currently, It's currently rated between Poltergeist 2 and Poltergeist 3 at 5.1.
This is the remake.
Yes, this is the remake.
Okay.
It's currently rated lower than Poltergeist 2, but higher than Poltergeist 3.
Barely.
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 So, let's start at 5.
For the remake, okay, 5.
Yeah.
And
Any
work our
reason to
way
go
down.
higher?
Definitely no reason to go higher.
No, I
There's
agree.
nothing there that they could do that they did to go higher at all. Only to go lower.
Oh, another thing they switched from the films. At the end of the film, when they get in the car and leave, and the ghost won't let them go,
Oh, right.
of the remake, that's like the scene in Poltergeist 3 when they're trying to leave the house and they can't get out of the garage in the car. Slightly different, but again, I feel like they took that from that film, except without the floating chainsaw.
Well, yeah.
So any reason to go to a 4?
I mean, if we're going to talk about dropping it, it's just how much they borrowed, copied, and how unoriginal they were. I guess we can go down 1 point for that.
I'll argue against that because all I'll say is some of the changes were commendable, and the whole end sequence was better than Poltergeist 2 or 3. As far as like being a reasonable ending, it was the best ending since the first one. So I think that deserves a little bit of credit.
Okay,
I'm
so
gonna stick with
if we go 5, that means it's average, which means that
which I'm totally fine with. This is
Yeah.
this is why they.
I mean, I didn't absolutely, hate it with
me
shaking
neither.
fury and anger.
Yeah.
I just didn't like it.
It's the ultimate problem with these remakes. It's not that it's a bad remake. It's not that it shouldn't have been done. It's just that there was no reason for it. You weren't doing anything new with it. It was just, oh, you know what? Here's something we haven't done in a while. Let's do it again and make some money off of it. And there's really nothing new under the sun for it. And that's the ultimate crime. It's just it's like the Psycho remake.
Right.
Why'd you even bother? You bring nothing.
Well,
to the table.
I saw that in a theater, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I saw that on a date.
So 5. Yeah, we're gonna say 5, and I
5
do
is
want to
fine.
take it. I want to now. That's so we're pretty much voted with everybody else as far as the average 12,000 viewers. I just want to look at the demographics. Highest rating is 5 at 19.7%. Everyone's the same opinion. The demographics, like across the board, is in the 5 range.
Okay.
That's it. It's just the whole world looked at this film and, like you said,
Yeah.
just though I think the worst response you can get from a film from an audience is ambivalence, or just apathy.
True.
At least when you hate a film, the film is evoking a response, a reaction from you. But they'll sit through this whole film and afterwards like, I could have like sat here and not watched this. It's just like no opinion. It's like it's really apart from comparing it to the original. There's really not much to talk about in this film.
I wouldn't have gone out of my way to watch this unless we were going to be reviewing it. When I saw the trailer, and even before I saw any reviews or just how much people didn't like it, I knew I didn't want to see it.
Well, let's be fair.
Because I saw it as pointless.
To be fair, we didn't go out of our way to see it.
Well,
we it was out of the theaters. We watched it as late as possible.
yeah.
It was like, oh, you know what? I can watch this now. All right, might as well. It wasn't, like Mad Max. We have to buy tickets in advance. We have to plan. No, this was, it's on.
Yeah,
If I had
here.
TV, I would have been flipping through and saw this. It's one of those films. Yeah.
All right. So
That's
I
all.
think we should go ahead. I think we should go ahead and end the show then. All right, I'm good with that. So with that, let's go ahead and end the show.
Hold on. Wait,
What?
one thing. The storyline for Venom, if we do it, it starts off with on IMDb, international terrorists attempt to kidnap a wealthy couple's child. Their plan comes unstuck when a deadly black mamba sent by mistake instead of a harmless snake escapes, and the terrorists and several hostages are trapped in the boys' London home. Next line. A tense evening is had by all. Really?
As the snake creeps around the house, picking off the various characters one by one.
How do you not watch a film like that?
I think we have to.
Okay, well, hopefully we can find it.
I hope so. If we
And it
can't
was
find
released-
it, we'll come out with a different challenge.
And not only was it released in the USA, I remember Mad Magazine did a film parody of it, so it's definitely a theatrical release in America.
Holy shit! All right, it'd be interesting to get that Mad Magazine parody if we could still find it,
I'll do a Google
even
search.
even if it's digital print.
I remember reading it though. I remember the whole thing with this, like beating, trying to find the snake and everything. I never saw the film, but I remember reading the Mad Magazine version of it.
God, 34 years ago. Shit.
I have a good memory for that kind of shit. It's scary.
Oh no, I do too, but it's just wow.
Yeah.
Anyway, cool.
All right. Anyway.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Let's go ahead and end the show now. All right. Episode 177 of Moviesucktastic. Again, as always, thank you for joining us. One thing I do want to mention: I am on vacation starting today. I am off
Motherfucker.
all next week. It does not mean that I may or may not be back. Well, isn't next Thursday the day before 4th of July? It is. No, 4th
no.
of July is a Saturday.
Hey,
I don't
next
know.
Thursday-
We might be somewhere with the kids doing fireworks. I can't
Thursday-
guarantee there is a show next week because
Next
I
Thursday-
am on vacation. I'm sorry. I'm still talking.
I'm sorry. I kept misjudging when you were done. Next Thursday is the day before the day we're recognizing 4th of July.
That's right, because it's on a Saturday. So I have no idea where I am yet next week. I know I'm on vacation starting literally today. So there may or may not be a show. We'll see. We'll see where I am.
We'll be back, though. Don't worry. We'll be back.
Oh, yeah. Don't worry. So anyway, thank you for joining us. Go to our website at moviesucktastic.com. Completely redesigned and redone just for you. You can listen to the show there. You can download the show. You can watch the show live every Thursday at 8 o'clock, except maybe next week. You can go to iTunes and download the show or listen to it. You can go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/moviesucktastic. You can go to our Tumblr page at moviesucktastic.tumblr.com. You can also leave us voicemail at 908-514-4470. If you want to email us, the address is themovieguys@moviesucktastic.com. And you can download the free Android app for your phone, tablet, phablet, whatever you want. It's 100% free, and you can download it now at the Google Play Store. The mobile version of our site is coming out soon for all you iPhone users.
Woo!
And if you do a Google search for us in your computer, just do a search for Moviesucktastic and we come up everywhere. And that should do it.
Oh,
Yes.
real quick.
Yeah.
Apparently, Venom is available on Amazon Prime streaming.
Oh, so we can watch it.
But
But I got to figure out a way I can get that so we can play it in the background for the live show. Otherwise, we'll just talk about it, but I'll play a different Kinski film.
That's the only challenge, but we can watch it, so we're definitely reviewing it. It just matters of how our presentation.
Perfect.
All right.
Excelente. All right. Got any words of wisdom, sir?
Because I'm smart.
All right, everybody. With that, we'll talk to you next week.
You just moved the tombstones!
You didn't move the bodies! You just moved the tombstones, you son of a bitch!
Why? Why?
Bye-bye.